beat up have you been with the drop in commodities? Has Marketfield taken hits? Did you avoid it?
No, we were on the wrong side of the first leg of it, and that sort of September period, and certainly was painful. I mean, I think what we missed and what some other people missed was that it's really a supply story, not a demand story. I actually think the demand for commodities is relatively okay, but there's just been this massive oversupply in so many areas, which I think is an outcome of central banking policy right now.
Right. Wait, so if we're talking about oversupply of commodities, so the problem is not China, it's Australia.
Well, the problem is that commodity producers have gone down a business plan of producing as much as they can, no matter what the end price is. Yeah. And you know, you had enough exploration, and you found enough deposits of low-cost commodities, both in iron ore and in energy in particular, that the margin. You had this short period where the marginal profitability was enormous, but now you're just at this sort of battle to the death, where the suppliers are willing to sell at $1 above their marginal costs.
We had 6 or 7 central banks cut rates last week. I mean, this really does look like full-fledged currency wars, competitive devaluation, whatever you want to call it. Why aren't we seeing a bigger pop in gold?
Well, you are. If you look outside of U.S. dollars, gold in euros is up about 30% over the last 12 months. It's up about 25% in Canadian dollars. It's up 20% plus in most international currencies. That's a pretty good pop. In U.S. dollars, the dollar is if you like, the beneficiary of everything which is happening on the other side. In U.S. dollars, gold is up mid-single digits over that period of time. But that's a real pop. You just have to look at the right currency to see it.
But everybody else who comes on our show to talk about commodities talks about China. And I find it interesting that you're not talking about China. For you, you don't see a drawback, you don't see a fall off in demand there as the problem.
I think there's been a lack of growth in China. There hasn't been a reduction of Chinese imports of most key commodities. I think there has been a financial deleveraging in China, and I do think to the extent people were using physical commodities as collateral for lending, I think that's been part of what happened in the back end of 2014. But China hasn't stopped buying iron ore. It stopped buying iron ore at a price which suited BHP and Rio and everybody else.
Right. How, on a microeconomic basis, how easy is it for the miners to clear that oversupply? They got into it over quarters and years. Do you have an optimism that they can clear it out in a matter of quarters?
No, because nobody's talking in the right way. Everybody's assuring their shareholder base that they're still marginally profitable where they are. I would far rather hear people say, look, we're just not going to dig the stuff out of the ground right now. But I don't think anybody has the ability to do it, and particularly when you look at the amount of fixed income which has been issued in this space.
Olivia, the Baker Hughes transaction earlier this year really goes to what we may see, which is real combinations.
Yeah, we're expecting that this is going to precipitate sort of a massive flurry of consolidation of M&A in the energy sector. And then we are also watching out for Exxon earnings at 8 a.m. I have a chart, actually, that shows the incredible drop from Baker Hughes and the rigs. Look at the right-hand side of that chart. Yeah. I mean, that is really stunning.
Sure, that's the rig count.
Yeah, it's rig count.
Okay, but to my point earlier, Olivia, that's brilliant. Can that speed up? Can that go faster than the market thinks to clear out the supply?
Well, yes, it can, but there's rigs and rigs. I mean, from what I'm told, about 20% of the rigs in this country produce 80% of the oil. So you can't simply look at the rig count to see that. But I think you have started the process whereby supply starts to come under attack. But it's a long process now.
Long and nasty cycle, you wrote.
Long and nasty, yes. Okay.